Sarah, can't you be more mature? Chloe is in an emergency. Ethan roared at me as if I were some unreasonable shrew. Just a few minutes ago, we were holding hands, ready to sign and become a legally married couple. This is the 66th time, because of a phone call from Chloe. Looking at the impatience and accusation in his eyes, the little bit of tenderness left in my heart instantly froze into ice. Maybe I should have woken up a long time ago. Sarah, can't you be more mature? Chloe is in an emergency. Ethan roared at me as if I were some unreasonable shrew. Just a few minutes ago, we were holding hands, standing at the entrance of the city hall, ready to sign and become a legally married couple. The sun was just right, and I could even smell the faint fragrance of the white roses on my bouquet. Then, his phone rang. The name jumping on the screen was Chloe. My heart tightened, and I had a bad feeling. Sure enough, Ethan answered the phone, and his face instantly became serious, with a hint of the familiar nervousness he always had when it came to Chloe. What? Family members causing trouble? Don't be afraid, I'll be right there. He hung up the phone, didn't even look at me, and turned to leave. I subconsciously grabbed his arm. Ethan, today is the day we get our marriage certificate. My voice was trembling a little, not because of fear, but because of absurdity and coldness. He suddenly away my hand, frowning, his tone full of impatience. Sarah, what time is it? You still care about this? Chloe is alone in the department. Those family members are very emotional. It's too dangerous for her alone. A girl? I laughed in anger. Ethan, Chloe is a attending physician who can independently handle emergencies and remain calm even when facing medical disputes. She is not some weak and helpless damsel. And, how many times has this been? 66th time. For her, you cancelled our dates, our trips, and even our marriage certificate. My voice rose, attracting sidelong glances from the few passers-by around, but I couldn't care less. 5 years of pent-up grievances and disappointments erupted like a volcano at this moment. Do you even see me as your fiancé? Ethan's face flushed red because of my questioning. He seemed to think I was embarrassing him in public. You are simply impossible, he growled. Don't you understand how hard doctors work? I thought you would understand me. Chloe was almost crying on the phone just now, saying that you would definitely be angry again, and feel that she was delaying us. Look at you now. Aren't you just trying to prove her right? He paused, looked at me coldly, and said the words that I had heard countless times, but that could still pierce my heart. If you continue to be so unreasonable, I think we don't even need to get the marriage certificate. After speaking, he rushed to the side of the road without looking back, hailed a taxi, and sped away, leaving me alone, wearing a carefully chosen white dress, holding the bouquet of white roses that were about to wither, standing on the cold steps of the city hall, like a clown abandoned by the whole world. The sunlight was blinding, but my eyes were so dry that they couldn't shed a single tear. My heart seemed to have turned completely cold at that moment. I slowly squatted down and hugged myself. Memories of the past 5 years flashed through my mind like a movie. 5 years ago, I was also a promising medical school graduate and received a full scholarship from a top foreign medical school. But just before I was about to leave, Ethan became seriously ill and needed long-term care. He was my first love, the person I was determined to spend my life with. Looking at him weak in the hospital bed, I didn't hesitate to tear up the admission letter, give up my dream of becoming a doctor, and stay by his side to take care of him and support him to stand up again. After he recovered, his career flourished and he became the youngest and most promising internist in the hospital, and I, in order to better take care of his daily life, completely gave up the opportunity to return to the medical industry and became an ordinary administrative staff member. We bought a house and planned for the future. He said he would get married when he was a little more stable. This wait lasted 5 years. In those 5 years, a colleague named Chloe joined his side, a woman who could always precisely create accidents and emergencies between him and me. At first, I believed Ethan, believed in the ordinary colleague relationship he spoke of, and believed that it's normal for doctors to help each other. Time and time again, I suppressed the discomfort in my heart, and told myself to be generous and understanding of his work, until he repeatedly broke promises for Chloe and repeatedly accused me of being petty and not understanding him. Until today, this 66th time, for a woman who didn't really need him to save her, he abandoned me again and even threatened to cancel our marriage registration. I slowly stood up and threw the bouquet, which had already lost its meaning, into the nearby trash can. A so-called marriage that requires compromises through sensibility and understanding, and has failed to truly materialize in 5 years, is not worth having. I took out my phone, my fingers trembling, but with unusual determination. I found a long-forgotten number. That was my advisor, Professor Evans' contact information. The phone connected, and hearing that familiar and surprised voice, I finally couldn't hold back my tears. Professor, it me. Sarah, yes, I still want to go back to school. Is there still a chance on your end? I hung up the phone, wiped away my tears, and took a deep breath. To hell with Ethan, to hell with Chloe, to hell with 5 years of wasted youth. From today onwards, I will live for myself. I took a taxi home, ready to pack my luggage. I just took out the key and found that the door was ajar. My heart sank, and I pushed the door open and went in. Ethan and Chloe's laughter came from the living room. The action of me locking the door behind me obviously startled them. Ethan frowned and walked out, his face immediately darkening when he saw it was me. What are you doing? Locking the door. What do you want? Before I could say anything, Chloe, who was behind him, tugged at his arm with a look of worry and said softly, Ethan, don't blame Sarah. It must be my fault that she misunderstood and got angry. She looked at me, with a hint of subtle smugness and provocation in her eyes. Sarah, I'm sorry. What happened at the hospital today scared me. Ethan was worried about me being alone, so he brought me back for a meal. Don't be angry. I'll leave after I eat. What a perfect white lotus in a prosperous world. I couldn't be bothered with her and walked straight to the bedroom. Ethan stopped me, his tone with an unquestionable command. Sarah, what's with your attitude? Chloe is trying to explain to you nicely, and you don't even say a word? Look at you now. What do you look like? I looked up and stared at him coldly. What do I look like? My fiancé brings another woman home for dinner after abandoning me at the city hall for the 66th time, and then accuses me of having a bad attitude. Ethan, you tell me, what should I look like? Ethan was cornered by me and rendered speechless, his face alternating between green and white. Chloe quickly smoothed things over. Oh, it's all my fault. Ethan, don't be angry. Sarah, you must be hungry too, right? Ethan said he'd cook pasta for me himself. Why don't you join us? Cook personally? I sneered inwardly. We've been together for 5 years, and I can count on one hand the number of times Ethan has cooked for me. He always says he's too tired from work and doesn't have the energy. Now, to appease the frightened Chloe, he suddenly has energy. No need. I shook off his hand. I have no appetite. Enjoy your meal. I walked into the bedroom, closed the door, and locked it. Through the door, I could hear Ethan's low, angry voice. Look at her. Isn't she just a little jealous of Chloe? Does she have to be so petty and make such a fuss? Heh, jealous? I just feel disgusted. I started packing in the bedroom, putting all my belongings into the suitcase one by one. This home that was once full of love now suffocates me in every inch of space. Before long, a cry of alarm came from outside, followed by Chloe's tearful voice. Ouch, it's so hot. Then Ethan shouted anxiously and nervously, Chloe, what's wrong? Your hand. Why is your hand so hot? Immediately after, the bedroom door was slammed loudly. Sarah, get out here. Ethan's voice was full of anger. I opened the door and saw Ethan supporting Chloe. The back of Chloe's hand was red and swollen, and she looked at me with tears in her eyes, as if she had been greatly wronged. On the floor, there was a pool of water and a knocked-over kettle. The kettle was very close to where I was standing when I came out. Ethan saw me, his eyes were red, and he pointed at me and roared, Sarah, did you do it on purpose? Can't you stand Chloe? What has she done to offend you that you have to scald her with boiling water? Enough. I lowered my head and looked at the back of my hand. A few drops of hot water seemed to have splashed on it when I opened the door just now, causing a burning pain. It's really enough. But before I could speak, Ethan completely didn't give me a chance to explain. I really misjudged you. How can you be so malicious? Get a marriage certificate? I don't think we'll ever need to get one in this lifetime. He carefully held Chloe's hand, blowing on it with distressed eyes. Chloe, don't be afraid. I'll take you to the hospital. From beginning to end, he didn't look at me once, didn't ask me a single question, and didn't even notice the red marks that had also appeared on the back of my hand. In his heart, I was already a vicious woman who had become hideous with jealousy. Watching their hurried departure, I stood there, feeling a chill rising from the soles of my feet straight to the top of my head. My heart was completely dead. That way, I can leave more decisively and without a trace of longing. I closed the door and continued packing. My movements were quick and organized. The visa was processed quickly. Professor Evans helped me arrange everything, and the school also reserved my admission. The day before I left, I received a call from Ethan. His tone was still so self-righteous. With a condescending air of charity, "Sarah, go apologize to Chloe, and we'll let this matter pass. I know you didn't do it on purpose. You were just momentarily confused. After you apologize, let's find some time to get the marriage certificate." Listening to his voice on the other end of the phone, I felt like it was coming from another world. "Apologize? Get the marriage certificate?" I said calmly. "Ethan, let's break up." There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds, followed by an even greater outburst of anger. "Break up? Sarah, what are you doing again? Just because of this little thing? I'm telling you, don't push your luck. It's not a small thing, Ethan." My voice was devoid of emotion. "It's your repeated neglect, your boundless favoritism towards Chloe. It's you who destroyed everything between us. The Sarah who loved you died the 66th time you abandoned her, when you accused her of being vicious for another woman. Ethan was so angry he couldn't speak. "Let's just leave it at that. I wish you and Chloe happiness." I hung up the phone and then blocked all of his contact information, including phone number, WhatsApp, Instagram, everything. The next day, I boarded a flight to the other side of the ocean. Outside the city became smaller and smaller, and those people and things that once caused me pain, struggle, and heartbreak were finally left far behind. The plane soared into the sky, and the sunlight shone on my face through the window, warm and comforting. My new life has begun. Studying abroad is busier and more fulfilling than I imagined. My supervisor has high expectations of me and is strict. And I am also holding my breath, wanting to make up for the 5 years I lost. Professor Evans introduced me to one of his most prized students, Daniel. Daniel is an excellent surgeon and also my direct senior. He is gentle, has solid professional knowledge, and has given me a lot of help in academics and life. Initially, Ethan's harassment never stopped. He inquired about me through our mutual friends, sent me messages from unfamiliar numbers, and even created new social media accounts to follow me. Those messages were nothing more than interrogations, accusations, or occasionally a few cheap "I miss you"s mixed in. I ignored them all, changed my phone number, and completely cut off all contact with him. Time is the best medicine. 2 years is enough time for wounds to heal and for me to be reborn. With the help of Daniel and my mentor, I completed my studies with excellent grades and gained extensive surgical clinical experience at a well-known hospital. I am no longer the Sarah who revolved around Ethan and lost herself. I have rediscovered my dreams, my career, and my confidence. 2 years later, a top hospital in China, premier city hospital in our city, extended offers to both Daniel and me. This is a rare opportunity, and it's time to go back. Daniel and I returned to China together, and the plane landed in a familiar city. As I walked out of the airport arrival hall, I immediately saw Ethan waiting there. Chloe was still standing by his side. Ethan was thinner, with a trace of weariness in his expression, but the look in his eyes was filled with complex emotions: shock, anger, and a hint of something almost imperceptible, possessiveness. He obviously also saw Daniel next to me. We walked side by side, occasionally talking in low voices, looking very tacit. Ethan's face instantly turned extremely ugly. He strode forward and blocked our way. "Sarah, you're finally willing to come back?" His voice was questioning. Before I could speak, Chloe beside him immediately got into character. She took Ethan's arm and said softly, "Ethan, see, I told you Sarah must be doing well. And who is this?" Her gaze landed on Daniel with a meaningful look. Ethan's eyes swept over Daniel like knives, then stared fixedly at me. "Who is he? Your new love?" I frowned, finding his words extremely jarring. "Ethan, we've already broken up. He's my senior brother." "Daniel, senior brother?" Ethan sneered, "more like lover boy." "Sarah, you've really grown up, haven't you? After being abroad for 2 years, you've hooked up with a new man so quickly?" Chloe fanned the flames from the side. "Oh, Ethan, don't say that about Sarah. Maybe they're just friends?" "Friends?" Ethan's anger grew even more. "Can friends be this intimate? Sarah, I'm telling you, if you break up with him now and come back to apologize to me, I can let bygones be bygones and forgive your ignorance these past 2 years." I simply couldn't believe my ears. "Forgive me? What right does he have to forgive me?" Before I could retort, Daniel beside me took a step forward, shielding me behind him. He looked at Ethan, a faint but intensely oppressive smile curling at the corner of his lips. Then, he turned his head and gently placed a kiss on my forehead. The gesture was natural, carrying an undeniable intimacy and declaration. "I'm sorry, sir." Daniel's voice was calm and powerful. "Sarah has nothing to do with you now, or in the future, and, with all due respect, you don't deserve her." Ethan's face instantly turned as red as a pig's liver, completely enraged by Daniel's aura and actions. He was like a mad bull, raising his fist and swinging it towards Daniel's face. "Ethan!" I screamed, almost instinctively rushing forward and standing in front of Daniel. Ethan's fist stopped just before the tip of my nose. His hand was trembling, and his eyes were full of disbelief and hurt. You're protecting him. From me?" I looked at him, my eyes cold and firm. "Ethan, we're over. Put away your ridiculous possessiveness and self-righteousness. I don't love you. In fact, I find you very disgusting now." Ethan staggered back a step, his face pale. Chloe quickly helped him up, her eyes filled with resentment as she looked at me. The crowd at the airport formed a small circle around us, pointing and whispering. I took Daniel's hand and left this suffocating place without looking back. Daniel and I successfully joined Premier City Hospital. He was the chief attending surgeon, and I, thanks to my excellent resume and my mentor's recommendation, also became an attending surgeon in surgery. To our surprise, Ethan actually works at this hospital too. He's no longer the spirited and promising young talent, although he's still in the internal medicine department. Here, he is still the prominent young doctor, but in my eyes, the halo above his head has long been shattered into glass shards. Daniel and I quickly adapted to the new environment and threw ourselves into the intense and busy work. Although surgery and internal medicine are different departments, it's common to see each other frequently in the hospital. Soon, gossip about Daniel and me spread throughout the hospital. A handsome man and a beautiful woman, both PhDs who returned from overseas, outstanding in their abilities, and joining the hospital together, seemed like a perfect match in every way. When the rumors reached Ethan's ears, he couldn't sit still any longer. One day at noon, I was eating in the cafeteria when Ethan suddenly rushed over and overturned my plate. "Sarah, what exactly are you trying to do? You just got back and can't wait to hook up with another man, and you even dare to flaunt it in the hospital." His voice was so loud that everyone in the cafeteria looked over. He pointed at Daniel and roared, "And you, what kind of place is Premier City Hospital? You're a returned doctor who seduces married women. Aren't you afraid of ruining your reputation?" The cafeteria went silent instantly. Everyone's eyes darted back and forth between me, Ethan, and Daniel. Daniel walked to my side, held my shoulders, and softly asked if I was okay. Then, he looked at Ethan, his eyes devoid of anger, only a calm observation of a clown. "Dr. Ethan, watch your words," Daniel said. "Miss Sarah is single, and we have a perfectly legitimate colleague and friend relationship. On the contrary, you are yelling at your ex-fiancé in public, even resorting to violence. Is this the quality expected of a doctor at Premier City Hospital?" Ethan's face turned red and his neck thickened, choked by Daniel's words. He turned to me, his eyes fierce. "Ex-fiancé? Sarah, dare to say you didn't do this on purpose? You just want to get back at me, to embarrass me." I took a deep breath and stood up straight. For the first time in 5 years, I felt like I didn't need to endure anymore. Didn't need to consider his pathetic ego. "Revenge? Ethan, you think too highly of yourself," I said calmly, my voice not loud, but clear enough for everyone to hear. "I'm just living my own life, and your appearance is what's disrupting my peace." I looked around, met those curious, inquisitive, and even slightly gloating eyes, and decided to make things clear. Since Dr. Ethan is so fond of discussing private matters in public, I don't mind obliging you. I looked at him and said, word by word, "Ethan, you ask me why I am your ex-fiancé? Maybe it's because we cancelled the marriage certificate at the city hall because of your good colleague Chloe's 66th emergency call. Maybe it's because you left me alone at the city hall to take care of that frightened colleague, and then took her back to our house for dinner." A low murmur arose from the crowd. Ethan's face turned pale, and he tried to interrupt me. "Sarah, don't talk nonsense. You know in your heart whether I'm lying or not." I didn't pause. "Maybe it's because you yelled at me at my house for that good colleague, saying I was nitpicking. Maybe it's because that good colleague created an accident in my house, scalding herself with boiling water to frame me. And you, without asking any questions, accused me of being vicious, didn't even look at me, and took her to the hospital, leaving me with the harsh words, "We don't need to get a marriage certificate in this lifetime." That was where I lived. It was our home. My voice was a little choked, but quickly returned to calm. "You brought a woman who was hostile to me home, letting her act in front of me, and even spoke harshly to me because of her. From that moment on, the Su Ting who deeply loved you was already dead. I left, not for revenge, but for self-preservation." I looked at Daniel, gave him a grateful smile, and then looked at Ethan again, with no emotion in my eyes. "Now, I'm back, with my own career, with respectable teachers and friends. My life is very good. I don't need your forgiveness, and I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. Please, stay away from my life." The cafeteria was as silent as a graveyard. Everyone looked at Ethan in shock, the righteous indignation from just now instantly turning into scrutiny and disdain. Brought another woman home? Cancelled the marriage certificate 66 times? Accused his fiancée of being vicious? These accusations, if true, are enough to destroy a doctor's reputation. Ethan stood there, as if struck by lightning, his face pale, his lips trembling, unable to speak. He wanted to refute, to explain, but under my clear narration and the questioning gazes of those around him, he found himself unable to argue. Daniel supported my shoulders and led me out of the cafeteria, leaving behind an uproar and Ethan's lonely figure. After this incident, Ethan's reputation in the hospital plummeted. Although he was still a backbone of the internal medicine department, the discussions and strange looks behind his back left him with nowhere to hide. That's fine. He blamed all of this on me, on Daniel. He began to target us in every way, especially at work. Surgical and internal medicine departments often require consultations and transfers. Ethan used his position to maliciously withhold critically ill patients who should have been transferred to surgery. His justification was that the patient's conditions were complex and required further observation and internal medicine treatment. However, Daniel and I knew that these patients had very clear surgical indications, and delaying would only delay the best time for surgery and endanger their lives. We tried to communicate, tried to persuade him to transfer departments as soon as possible, but he was completely unresponsive. He even privately misled the patients' families, exaggerating the role of internal medicine treatment and belittling the risks of surgery, making the families resistant to transferring departments. Even worse, he actually used this as a bargaining chip, using connections to find me and make a shameless request. "Sarah, as long as you agree to get back together with me and marry me, I will transfer the patient to you." He looked at me with a twisted expectation in his eyes, as if I would compromise immediately upon hearing this condition. I looked at him, feeling that the person in front of me was strange and terrifying. He could actually use a patient's life to threaten me, to achieve his despicable goals. "Ethan, you're crazy," I said in disbelief. "I'm not crazy," he roared. "I just want you back. Sarah, do you know how I've been these past 2 years? Without you, I can't concentrate on work at all. As long as you come back, everything will be back to normal. I'm still that Ethan. You're still that Sarah. We can get married, have children, just like we planned. It's not possible to go back, Ethan." I looked at his crazed appearance, my tone sad but firm. "You are no longer the Ethan I knew. You can actually joke about patients' lives. What about your medical ethics? What about your conscience?" "Don't talk to me about medical ethics," he interrupted me. "This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, how would I have become like this? Sarah, I'm giving you one last chance. Promise me, or else. Or else what do you want to do?" I sneered. "You have nothing left to threaten me with." I turned around and left. He didn't chase after me, but I knew he wouldn't let it go. Sure enough, a few days later, the seriously ill patient who had been detained in the internal medicine department by Ethan's doing, his condition deteriorated sharply. The patient experienced severe internal bleeding, and the situation was critical. As the attending physician, Ethan had to deal with it immediately. However, the internist wasn't good at dealing with this kind of sudden massive hemorrhage. What's more, Ethan was only detaining the patient out of spite, and he was completely unfamiliar with the patient's progress and surgical plan. In a panic, he actually decided to do it himself. He forcibly performed a surgery that he was not good at. The operating room was in chaos. The internal bleeding was more severe than he had anticipated, and he was flustered and completely unable to control the situation. The monitor emitted a piercing alarm, and the patient's vital signs plummeted. Ethan's forehead was sweating, and his face was pale. He knew he had screwed up, and screwed up badly. He looked at the nurse and assistant next to him, his eyes filled with panic and despair. Quick, call surgery, call DR. Daniel. The news quickly reached the surgery department. Daniel's expression turned serious instantly upon hearing this. He didn't hesitate and rushed to the operating room. As Daniel's assistant, I rushed in after him. The world is quiet. Pushing open the operating room door, I was met with a strong smell of blood and an atmosphere of extreme tension. Ethan stood in front of the operating table, his hands trembling, completely at a loss. Daniel quickly stepped forward and took over the surgery. His movements were clean and efficient, his eyes calm and determined. Under his command, the chaotic situation was quickly brought under control. I worked closely with the other nurses and doctors. Instruments, hemostasis, suturing, everything was proceeding in an orderly manner. After several hours of intense rescue efforts, the surgery was successful. The patient was pulled back from the brink of death. Outside the operating room, the patient's family waited anxiously. Daniel came out to explain the situation to them, and the family became emotional, crying and laughing. I stayed behind to comfort the family and explain the severity of the illness and the success of the surgery. Just then, a family member suddenly mentioned the previous transfer issue. Why didn't you allow the transfer before? The surgeon clearly said that surgery was possible. If it hadn't been delayed for so long, how could the patient have become like this? The family's emotions became agitated again, and they began to question Ethan's previous diagnosis and treatment. This medical malpractice, coupled with Ethan's previous actions of forcibly detaining patients and misleading their families, completely ignited the family's anger. They made a real name complaint to the hospital and contacted the media. Ethan's behavior not only violated medical regulations, but more seriously, he lacked basic medical ethics. He used patients' lives to achieve personal goals, which no hospital can tolerate. The hospital quickly intervened in the investigation and soon clarified the facts. The result was devastating. Ethan was fired from Premier City Hospital. The media gave extensive coverage to the incident, especially the details of him using patients to threaten his ex-fiancée to get back together, and forcibly performing surgeries he was not skilled in, leading to critical situations, which caused a great uproar. The internet was filled with condemnation and abuse towards him, cyberbullying, doxing, harassing phone calls. The once infinitely glorious young doctor became a pariah overnight. His career was completely ruined. And what about Chloe, who used to constantly claim to be frightened and in need of protection? After Ethan lost power, she ran faster than anyone else. She quickly distanced herself from him, not only avoiding him in the hospital but also deleting all photos of them together on social media, and finally, blocking all his contact information. She was like a cat that smelled fish. Once she realized the fish was dead, she abandoned it without hesitation. Ethan completely broke down. He called me, his voice choked with sobs, incoherently confessing, begging for my forgiveness, begging me to come back to him. Sarah, I was wrong. I was really wrong. I just realized how much I love you. I can't live without you. As long as you come back, I'll listen to you. We'll get married right away. I'll never look at another woman again. Listening to his humble plea, my heart felt no ripples, only a sense of settled peace. Ethan, the Sarah who loved you died 5 years ago when you repeatedly chose others over her. I said clearly, you killed her with your own hands. I am no longer her. There is no possibility between us anymore. I hung up the phone, not giving him any further chance. In the days that followed, I heard that Ethan was completely devastated. He became an alcoholic and even self-harmed when drunk, cutting his hand with a knife, saying he wanted to remember the mistakes he had made. Later, due to the recurrence of an old illness, coupled with the double blow of mental and physical trauma, he was paralyzed in bed. The once spirited internal medicine doctor of Premier City Hospital ultimately came to such an end. I didn't go to see him, nor did I have any pity. Everything he is, he created himself. My career is thriving. At Premier City Hospital, Daniel and I worked well together, completing one difficult surgery after another. I have realized my dream of becoming an excellent surgeon. Daniel confessed his feelings for me on my birthday. He didn't use sweet words, but sincerely told me that he liked me and wanted to spend the future with me. I looked into his clear eyes, and a warm current surged in my heart. In the past 2 years, he has given me so much support and help. He is a ray of light in my life, but I know I still need some time. I need to completely heal the pain of the past, and I need to fully establish my own value. instead of seeking security in another person's relationship. Daniel, thank you. I held his hand. You are a very good person, and I owe you a lot, but right now, my focus is on my career, and I also need time to sort myself out. I paused, looked at the somewhat lost look in his eyes, and added, however, if I am ready to embrace a new relationship in the future, you will definitely be my first choice. Daniel's eyes lit up, and he nodded with a smile. I know the road ahead is long, but this time, I will firmly walk on the path I have chosen. The girl who once gave up everything for love has been reborn. She understood that loving herself is more important than loving anyone else. Those who do not know how to cherish will eventually lose everything, and the light that truly belongs to you can never be obscured by anyone.